Welcome to a Community Partners interview where we explore the organizations, opportunities, and resources that look to make change in our daily lives. I'm your host, Davy Au, and you're listening to Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. Today, I'm joined by Rob Eatough, the CEO for Easter Seals. Easter Seals is committed to helping children, youths, and young adults with physical disabilities and their families. Through the generous support of their donors and volunteers, Easter Seals provides quality services and programs and acts as an effective voice for their interests and needs. Easter Seals will enable children, youths, and young adults with physical disabilities to reach their full potential, make the absolute most of their abilities, and live their lives to the fullest. Thanks for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
It's our pleasure. Now, to begin, for our listeners who've been with us for a while, or those of us just joining for the first time, why don't you begin by giving us a little bit more insight into you? You know, what inspired you to work at Easter Seals, more specifically Easter Seals Ontario, and with individuals with disabilities?
Fantastic. No, thanks for that opportunity and for having me here today again. Yes, my name is Rob Eatough, and actually I just recently joined Easter Seals Canada. I'm just kind of in my second month on the job. But in terms of my passion and my commitment for equity, inclusion, and accessibility, that's really been a lifetime of my work for sure. And just as a point of clarification, because I know you kind of hit it off the top, that Easter Seals runs coast to coast to coast here in Canada, and we have representation in each one of our provinces. So we have entities, we have provincial affiliates, literally going right across the country, including right here in in terms of Easter Seals Ontario. And so that can be a little bit confusing for people, in terms of confusing Easter Seals Canada and Easter Seals Ontario. So just for clarification, I'm with the national office, and have just joined here recently, as I stated. So in terms of my background, I actually spent the majority of my working career in public education right here in Ontario. Started out as a teacher in the Toronto area, and then over the course of about a 30-year span, evolved into a elementary vice principal, elementary principal, and then for about the last dozen years, I was a superintendent of education with the Halton District School Board, where I had many different opportunities to help lead a variety of different portfolios, one of which for a number of years was the equity, inclusion, and accessibility portfolio, which was I was certainly really proud to do, because I'm a big believer that we need to ensure that we are leveraging the strengths and the assets of every single one of our students, and I would say now in my new role, community members, so that we can truly be a nation to be proud of. So what happened in 2022 post-COVID is I thought, hey, I'd like a new challenge, and moved into the not-for-profit sector and spent a few years with actually the Tim Hortons Foundation. And but when I saw this opportunity come up just around Christmas time, I saw it posted and advertised and was recruited for this CEO position. Really couldn't pass it up to be able to hopefully bring some of my knowledge, experience, and background, and working directly with communities across the country to help ensure that we have greater inclusive spaces where all can participate.
And that's absolutely amazing to hear. And I mean, on the one hand, congratulations for the second month in, but it's absolutely amazing to know that you brought in that. At least to think that you brought in those 30 years plus of education experience to this field. So that's absolutely amazing.
Appreciate that.
And now, in terms of research and experience, I mean, I'll admit that I did a little bit, minus that clarification which you made, of which I apologize that I lapsed for earlier, of distinguishing between Easter Seals' various offices and whatnot. I had to do a little bit of research myself in preparing for our talk today. looking through the Easter Seals website, and other sources of that nature, and what I found, I must say, absolutely took my breath away. On the one hand, you offer various services, different camps, and things of that nature. So, do you think that you could give us a little insight into some of these services and some of these camps, like the sleepover camp and whatnot?
Yes, absolutely. It really is kind of a remarkable organization. Easter Seals Canada is proud of our 100-plus-year history. We are the largest charitable organization that's dedicated to supporting people with all disabilities across all ages, which is certainly really unique in the space. As I mentioned before, we have various different partners across every different province, and work collectively to advance inclusion, advocate for rights, and really empower Canadians with disabilities. Again, all disabilities, all ages. And in terms of programs, it really ranges. But you're right. You did mention youth camps, and some of our camps actually engage and involve adults with disabilities as well. But that is one of the unifying factors across all of our provincial affiliates, coast to coast, is there are camps, and they look slightly different, depending on the province. Some only run day programs. Some run, like here in Ontario, there are two camps, one in the London area, one around Perth, about an hour outside of Ottawa. And these are really unique places because when you visit there, it really takes your breath away. We have youth with all disabilities there and fully participating. So youth in wheelchairs, that are, doing, high ropes adventures and things like that. And, having spoken to a number of these individuals who participated in those experiences, they're really unique for them. And they're really unique for their families. And when they go to other places, often they, unfortunately can't be accommodated in these spaces. They can just be kids, and they don't have to really worry about their disabilities because they know that they'll have opportunities to fully participate and be fully included in the programming. So the camp programming is certainly has been offered broadly and will continue to do so. But beyond that, as you kind of referenced, there are a broad range of programs, and they really vary, from province to province. A really critical one, maybe I'll touch on, is the support for assistive and adaptive technology. I don't need to tell you, Davy, that in the environment we're in, with continually increasing costs, that just beyond the daily challenges, that families and individuals who have disabilities who require assistive and adaptive technology in order to operate in our spaces, they run into enough challenges, not the least of which are economic ones, of having to make very necessary home modifications, needing support with mobility devices, like wheelchairs, walkers, scooters, and so forth. So this program is operating in a variety of different provinces and provides support and assistance to those, primarily in terms of financial assistance, for them to get the tools that they need.
Of course. And on the note of getting the tools that they need, when it comes to sort of assigning, or at least providing said tools or supports or resources to that end, is there a process for determining what's needed for each individual person? And if so, and if yes, what is the process like?
Yeah, that's kind of a difficult one to answer. I'd say from the from where I sit, at the national office, because these programs really operate out of our provincial offices. So there's there's obviously an application process. There are often medical sign-offs that are required, and it might look a little bit different, kind of depending on the provinces or the partners involved. So unfortunately, I can't speak specifically because I wouldn't want to misrepresent what's available. But what I would say is, for those listening, is that a great starting point for you is to visit your provincial body. Easter Seals BC, or Easter Seals Alberta, Easter Seals Ontario. is to reach out directly to them or to visit their websites to get more information about those types of programs.
Of course. And and if let's see, and if the process is a bit more of a difficult thing to speak on, do you think that you could instead perhaps speak on any restrictions if, say, a person wanted to access Easter Seal services? Are there any restrictions that can sort of hinder a person from either accessing the services or even becoming a member of Easter Seals, if that's a possibility? Say age, caregiver, disability type, anything of that nature.
Again, I wouldn't want to get into the details of that, but I would say that certainly one of the acknowledged and recognized barriers, I would say, to a number of our different programs is getting the necessary documentation and sign off, right? That can be an onerous task, really, for many of the different services, within our population that we serve. I know with the new Canada Disability Benefit that's coming, coming into effect this July. Certainly one of the pieces there that's acknowledged and noted is that that requires an individual, getting a designated medical practitioner, to sign off on it, and sometimes there can be costs involved with that, which we know can certainly be a barrier for some of the individuals that we serve.
Of course. And now pivoting over to a note that you made earlier. On the one hand, there's the multiple distinctions between Easter Seal's different offices, as you mentioned to me through our earlier clarification. Now, apart from that clarification, I'm sure that most people would be very appreciative of that clarification. There's also some common myths and misconceptions, I'm sure, that are floating around. If not about the clarification of Easter Seal's different offices, then just in general. So, in your opinion, what do you think are some common myths and misconceptions about Easter Seals, such as the services or that are offered, or even the population that they cater to?
Yeah, well, I can certainly tell you. I think there's a number of different kind of misunderstandings and misrepresentations. I think for those who are familiar with the Easter Seals brand, they may automatically connect the work we do only to children and youth, and certainly because that's been a big part of our history, right? So often when you've seen advertisements, for Easter Seals in the past, or maybe stories, it is about our camps, and it's about youth and wheelchairs and so forth. Something that we're in the midst of promoting currently is just this notion of that we serve all abilities, and that we serve all ages. This coming week is actually a really exciting one. It's National Accessibility Week. It starts on Sunday, and of course runs for the full week. In the midst of that is Red Shirt Day, and I'd love to speak to that before our time is up today. But in terms of National Accessibility Week, Easter Seals Canada was lucky enough to receive a grant recently, and part of this project was to develop a prototype or a video that would really document and help highlight the fact that we need to be considerate of all abilities, and the accessibility challenges, and how they navigate spaces and how we can support them, across the country. So on Monday, we're going to be releasing through our social media channels, as well as on our website. There'll be a link to this National Accessibility Week video. It's about 10 minutes in length, and it documents the stories of 4 adults from different parts of the country, representing different identities. We're really proud of this project, and we think it'll do a great deal to help increase the awareness of just in general, the challenges that individuals face, but in particular, the population that Easter Seals Canada serves.
Wow, and that's absolutely amazing. And now I can't help I can't help it, Rob. But you already brought up something that you would want to talk more about, and that segues perfectly into whatever what I have next for you here. You mentioned National Accessibility Week. On the other hand, you also mentioned something along the lines of either Red Shirt Day or National Red Shirt Day. Those could one could argue that they can count towards special events. You would think just in general. Now, and on that end, this is your time if you want to speak up on National Accessibility Week, National Red Shirt Day, or Red Shirt Day as you've called it, and you could even speak to any other special events coming up for Easter Seals if there are any being hosted or that you're taking part in.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Davey. I'll certainly take you up on that. Maybe just to start with, Red Shirt Day. This is an annual event that was started by Easter Seals Canada back in 2019. It's held on the Wednesday of National Accessibility Week. This year, Red Shirt Day is going to be next Wednesday, May the 28th. And I guess the purpose of the day is to, threefold. One, show our support for disabled people and their families. To celebrate the achievements of disabled Canadians, and thirdly, to commit to building a fully accessible and inclusive society. And why red? Red is the official color of Easter Seals, and so that's why it was adopted to celebrate this event on an annual basis. And way that people can participate is obviously wear a red shirt. Those have been available on various different provincial websites, as well as on Easter Seals Canada website for people to purchase if they actually want the emblems. But a plain red shirt is fine. And we also ask people to make a pledge to support people with disabilities. So there's actually templates right on our Easter Seals Canada website that you can print off and write on whatever your pledge is. And we are certainly really hoping that people will engage by not only wearing a red shirt, but to make these pledges and to post them on social media with of course the hashtag Red Shirt Day. Why this matters? It matters because it's a visible and unifying way for Canadians to demonstrate their commitment to accessibility and inclusion. And we're hoping it'll spark some really important and really timely conversations, of course, with a new government coming in place, in order to continue to raise awareness and to encourage action at every level, from individuals to organizations, communities, and finally to government. And something that as you explore our website, you'll see our kind of our tagline is unstoppable. And with this video that I spoke to, which is going to help celebrate National Accessibility Week, it's entitled "Being Unstoppable: Stories of Accessibility and Inclusion." And we're hoping people will not only go to the link and watch the video, but that they'll also participate in a follow-up, very brief survey to give us some really critical feedback that'll help not only shape future programs, but ultimately, shape the services that we provide to Canadians with disabilities.
Of course, and that's absolutely amazing. And other than Red Shirt Day and National Accessibility Week, will there be any other events coming up that either Easter Seals will be either participating in or helping to host or co-host?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one of the ongoing, and I'm not sure whether it really qualifies as an event, but certainly at the local level, I would encourage, people, whether you live in BC or, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, out on the East Coast, that you go to representatives, affiliates, websites, and social media channels, and you'll see all kinds of local events that are happening, and they range everything from concerts to there is an event coming up over the next couple of months called Drop Zone, where people can register locally to participate, where you get to basically scale down a local building in support of Easter seals. So that's being offered in a few of our provinces across the country, and is always a really popular event. But at the national office, something that we've offered since probably for over 20 years now is a really important program for getting folks out into the community and fully participating in all that it has to offer. And it's called our Access To program. It's offered through Easter Seals Canada, and again, the purpose of the program is to enable people with permanent disabilities and their support persons to access a variety of different entertainment venues. And over the past 20 years, we've assembled about 800 different venues that are members of this program, and for a relatively nominal fee of about I think it's $20 for 3 years or $30 for 5 years. What this card allows an individual to do who has identified disability is for them to attend that venue. They would pay their own admission, but their support person who's coming with them would either get a discounted or free admission into the venue. So this is a really popular program and has really grown over time. As I say, we have about 800 participants, and and they really range. But certainly, one of the big ones, across the country is Cineplex Theaters, who've been a long-standing member and partner within that program.
Oh, of course, of course. And I mean that's absolutely amazing too. Not just because I personally am a fan of a fan of the cinema myself, but that's absolutely amazing. But over 800 venues. Wow.
Yes, absolutely. So, for as I say, for a pretty nominal fare, these are, this hopefully allows and promotes individuals who might either, otherwise be housebound or, kind of unable, to attend, some of these, really amazing things that exist in our community. It, gets them out and gets them into the community so that they can, participate alongside their peers.
And that's absolutely amazing to know that they have that opportunity. And on that note, in terms of opportunities, if say someone wanted to either become a volunteer with Easter Seals, if there is an opportunity for that, or even become a member, if there's an opportunity for that as well, what are the processes like for either joining as a member or coming on as a volunteer?
I certainly I know our provincial affiliates, who are the ones who are really operating those programs on the ground within their communities, are always looking for volunteers. So I would highly encourage those who want to participate to get engaged and to get involved and to reach out. And probably the best way to do that is to contact their local affiliate, Easter Seals Newfoundland, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, PEI, or kind of wherever you live. They all have websites and they all have contact information. And I would certainly really encourage individuals to reach out. Again, there's so many different programs. And there's so many different ways to get involved, and not only is the support valued and essential for the programs that we offer, but there's obviously a lot for the volunteer itself, to really to get to see, as I do when I visit our camps and so forth, firsthand, get to see the smiles on the kids' faces. Even doing this video recently and being able to engage with a few of the participants on the video and really get to know their stories, understand, why this work is really critical and important. Obviously, there's just so much you can get out, from these various different experiences, and so therefore would highly encourage, individuals to really look at their local affiliate and see how they can support and get involved.
Of course, of course. And on that note, I want to take a moment to ask you my favorite question, a question that I ask every one of our guests who come onto this segment. In your opinion, what is one thing that you see happening repeatedly to individuals with disabilities that shouldn't be, and how do we collectively go about stopping it?
Ooh, that's a great question, Davy. I think for me, people will often only look at what they're kind of visually seeing. and make a variety of different interpretations and judgments, and often they're very wrong. So something that is really core to the work that we do at Easter Seals is really promoting this notion of seeing the ability in disability. And there's just so much that these individuals, can offer, and actually are better at than a number of us able-bodied individuals. And so I think of someone who actually works at our home office, who actually has a variety of disabilities, and we required some work with a partner organization that wanted to do a survey in the disability space, and a number of us kind of got involved in that, and provided some initial feedback. But when we actually passed it on to that individual, for them to actually dig into it and view and provide feedback, it was so much so much more richer and so much more relevant, and I know was really appreciated by this particular partner vendor that we were working with. So I think more than anything, it's seeing the ability and disability, and understanding that we all have strengths, and we all have weaknesses, and we all have blind spots. And these individuals who have a identified disability actually have incredible strengths, and we need to all get a lot better at recognizing those and leveraging those, for the benefit of broader society.
Of course, Rob. Of course, we always want to encourage that sort of thing. I mean, heck, the whole point of Voices for Ability is, as we said in the intro, all abilities all the time. So you're and with what you're telling me about Easter Seals, that's almost exactly the point to a T.
Mm-hmm.
And now, to that end, if our listeners, you've already dropped a lot of information in this one talk that we've had, so I do appreciate you for it. But if our listeners are looking for just at least a bit more information about Easter Seals Ontario, about Easter Seals' various programs and services, different events coming up, you did say local affiliates and the various Easter Seals websites. But where else can they find you? How else can they reach out?
Absolutely. So they can reach out on our certainly probably a good starting point is our website, which is at easterseals.ca, and all of our contact and information, our various different programs, and there's actually a link to the Access To card program, which I referenced earlier. But people can actually also go directly to the Access To card site at access to the number 2 card.ca. So I think those are probably a couple of great ways to initially reach out, and increase their awareness, and see not only the opportunities that are available, but the resources that are available for either themselves, or for members of their family, or social circles.
Of course. And with that, Rob, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. This was an absolutely amazing talk. It was a pleasure.
As it was for me. Thanks very much, Davy. And again, we'll be looking forward to all your listeners to don red shirts next week in support of Easter Seals, and in creating awareness, and celebrating the abilities of those with disabilities.
Well, I definitely know I will. And with that, we've reached the end of yet another amazing interview. You're listening to Community Partners, presented by Voices for Ability Radio. All abilities, all the time. I'm your host, Davy Au. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see y'all next time.